We will call to order the regular meeting of the Chicago Board of Election Commissioners for Wednesday, February 19th, 2014. Good morning, everyone. My name is Langdon Neal. I'm chairman of the board. With me in person today, live, is Commissioner Maricel Hernandez. And by phone is Commissioner Cowan. We do have a quorum for those interested in the Open Meetings Act. We do have a quorum present, and therefore we have agreed, or I guess I should make a motion to you, Commissioner Hernandez, that we allow Mr. Cowan to participate by phone in this meeting.
I second.
Okay, moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
So now we'll move to the agenda. Is there any additions or modification of the proposed agenda? Hearing none, we'll move to the minutes. We don't have any minutes to approve today, so we'll then move to item number 4, Executive Director's Report. Mr. Goff.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just wanted, before I report on our activities at the office, just to let you know, this weekend I was invited to speak in Washington at the Federal Voting Assistance Program. They invited myself and several other statewide holders from Secretary of State's office to talk about the military and overseas voting. And this program was put on by FVAP and the Council of State Government. And they're putting together a policy advisory group to work on streamlining voter registration and voting for military and overseas. Just to let you know that they said that the city of Chicago is probably one of the best programs, and you know we've been doing experimental programs with FVAP where we were doing our emailing and faxing, and it went very well. So we're gonna try to standardize this throughout all the states. So I think it was a really good meeting, and I will be part of that group, just to let you know, Mr. Chairman.
Excellent.
Lance?
Yes, Commissioner.
Is there any chance, do you think, that we can get the support of these organizations for allowing the ballots to be returned electronically, which apparently has been the one link that we're still missing in the entire process, if I'm right?
You're right, and the issue is you have some states that are totally against it. And, you know, there's a 10-day cutoff date for getting ballots to the military. We're saying with why everybody's using emails, and the military receive all their orders and everything else through emails, why don't we just make that a standardized thing where we send everything via email? And that's what the military is looking at, and hopefully we can get that. Returning the ballot electronically is something different, something that's going to take some time.
Okay. Thanks and congratulations to you on another good effort.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Commissioner. Just to let the board members know, we started mailing last week absentee ballots. I've been sending, the board members have a daily absentee report. Pre-lat, we've already completed 3 wards and pre-lat already, and everything seems to be going very well. Our testing with the poll books, hopefully we'll be doing pre-lat on the poll books. Judd, do you think tomorrow? Starting tomorrow. So that's going very well. Paige, from looking at the transmissions, those all seem to be going very well. Very good. So I'm okay at my end. Ms. Baton's in a meeting right now. I've excused her for the board meeting just to let you know she's got some things that she's working out right now.
Sure.
I'd like for Mr. Allen to talk about our website.
Commissioner, any questions for Mr. Goff?
No.
Okay.
And,
Mr. Allen.
Chairman, Commissioners, our web content manager has provided a couple of recent upgrades. Lance referenced the online military overseas system. If you go back to our home page and you click on military overseas voters, we've had this up since the deadline, before the deadline, where we military and overseas voters, right, to a separate system where they can access their ballot, download it, mark it, print it out. They can mark it online and then print it out and then sign the certification and mail it back to us or submit it to an embassy, however they can get it back to us. So that system has been live since the end of January, I believe. Next, we've upgraded this section, the voter information section of the website. And when a voter enters a name, it'll take them now to, of course, the information. I'm using my sister's registration here. I hope she doesn't mind. It'll take you to not your typical information, which includes your precinct and ward, your status as a voter, your polling place, whether or not the polling place is accessible, and then the districts. And now this new section, the sample ballots, is a new presentation of it, where in the old system, we provided just the PDF, a snapshot of the ballot. And when you printed it out, especially if you were a senior citizen, it took a 22-inch ballot, shrank it down to 11 inches, and the typeface was so minuscule, even a microscope would, wouldn't be helpful. And now, if I click on, for example, Republican ballot, it's now printable, it's very clear, and it provides all the information for that district relative to that voter, including down to the referendum question. And unlike the old system, where we only had the PDFs available in Chinese or Hindi in the Chinese or Hindi precincts, even though we have the touchscreen program to allow voters to vote Chinese or Hindi in any precinct. Now, if a voter, this is not a Hindi precinct, it's not a Chinese precinct, but if I go in and use the same system as a Hindi voter here, and I believe I'm going to sample ballots, I'm not positive.
You can't read Hindi yet?
No, not yet.
Yep.
But we'll present the ballot for them in Hindi. So these are write-in blanks, but you can see we're taking strides to make sure that we're 100% compliant. Additionally, this new system has the new feature that was authorized by law for online applications for absentee ballots. So if a person goes to their absentee status and they have not applied for a ballot to vote absentee, this will appear. Click here to apply online for an absentee ballot. Then we take this information that they've already pulled up and we pre-populate all the necessary fields. They'll need to enter in a unit number or apartment number if that's applicable. And then if they want to have it sent to a different address, they mark down where they want that sent. They have to select a ballot and they have to certify all the information that they would on an absentee application. There's a CAPTCHA here to make sure that robots aren't using this system, and there's a human entering the data. And then lastly, we capture every day the file of submissions. We also capture the IP address of each submission, so that if there's a complaint later, we have every possible means of investigating it. So it's worked out well so far, and we took it live earlier this week. And that's about it for the website. Oh,
Jim,
I
we
just
talked
want
about maybe an additional link other than voter history to find your to apply for an absentee ballot.
Yeah, we're gonna have to.
I announced
now
that,
that we
of
feel
course.
a little confident, it's been battle tested, we'll add a link on the
Yeah.
homepage that says, you know, you can go here to apply for an absentee ballot. Real quickly, I just wanted to show you the functionality of this. This is a voter who already has applied for an absentee ballot. And when we go to the absentee status, well, that person has not already applied. I apologize. When we go to the absentee status, when I put in a voter who hasn't, the click here to apply won't even appear.
Okay.
So that's it. We also had, beyond the website, we had the wrap-up of the last-minute voter registration. The board received considerable media attention on that. The high schools were circulating, or not circulating, but rounding up their last-minute submissions, parochial schools, public schools. We're probably going to end up with north of 4,000 young people who registered in this short 6-week period over since January 1, who will be eligible, as you put it, Chairman, to make history, to be the first 17-year-olds to vote. That's it.
Jim or Lance, how many new registrations did we have, not counting the students, and how does that compare with prior years? Up, down, about the same?
Well, if you look, voter registration is down. We were open till midnight last night, didn't get a full count on those yet. They're still processing downstairs. As soon as I get a count, I'll send it out, but voter registration is down.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other questions for Jim? I think Jim and the staff did a great job promoting the 17-year-old registration. I'm pleased that we have over 4,000 new 17-year-olds who are ready to vote. I went on the road with Jim to a few high schools in the city of Chicago and talked to the young kids, and it's certainly one of the best parts of the job to get young people excited and part of the electoral process early as we can. So you did a great job on that. All right, we'll move to, under old business, we'll move to infrastructure projects, changes in election administration.
You saw one of the items was our website.
Yes, so we continue enhancements
Yeah.
to our website. You really touched on the electronic poll books, Mr. Goff.
In fact, Judd, do you want to give a report of where we're at with the poll books?
Sure. Basically.
Is that Ryan?
Judd Ryan with the SNS.
Yeah.
Essentially, delivery and acceptance tests have been completed. We have taken the final cut of the city's data, and that's being tested right now. And once we've proven that out, that's our staff and your staff, then I think beginning at about noon today will be the mass programming of the compact flashcards, wards at a time, and then we'll begin the pre-lat process tomorrow.
Excellent, excellent.
And we anticipate that process to take 7 to 10 days, and plan on ready to meet the packing of the ESCs and delivery.
Okay, good news. Any other questions for Jeff?
No.
All right, voting equipment, Mr. Goff, anything?
Well, I think we're going to get to that later down.
Okay, we'll address those issues under new business. And legislation, Mr. Scanlon is in court this morning?
Seventh Circuit argument.
Yeah, he has an argument in the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeal. So Joan Agnew is sitting here today. Joan, do you want to update us on anything with legislation?
I do not have any updates for you.
Okay. I suspect that there's not a lot happening right now.
There've been a lot of bills that have been introduced, but everything's on hold right now.
Exactly. Okay, we'll move to new business. Touchscreen voting equipment contract amendment?
No, this is the sale of touchscreens that, Commissioner Cowan, you want to discuss that?
Yes, let me comment on that. A couple of weeks ago, Jim circulated an article, I think from USA Today, or it didn't matter which media, but it painted virtually no future for electronic voting equipment, for our touchscreens nationwide, for a number of reasons. One of the key ones, apparently, is that the vendors are just simply not in that market. So we're running into problems with replacement parts, and down the line, nobody seems to be making touchscreen voting equipment. So I guess what some of us thought was the wave of the future back after the 2000 elections has been a ripple now going out to sea. And my thought was that we should explore the possibility of selling the touchscreen equipment while there is still maybe some market, whatever the market may be, for that equipment, and using the proceeds to upgrade or add to our current voting equipment. It seems to me that if we continue to hold on to the equipment, at some point it will become virtually worthless. So maybe this is the time to explore the market, and that's why I wanted to have this on the agenda.
Well, yeah, I did see the article, and it does call out for us to continue to discuss these issues, and so I'm glad you put this on the agenda. I think it needs a lot more study by our staff, by our organizations, electoral organizations, both nationally and in Illinois on this issue. I just don't know how we would really do early voting, Richard, without, our electronic touchscreen equipment.
Well, that's the question that I also raised with Lance, and obviously we'd be looking for staff input on how to handle early voting.
Yeah, we'd have to substitute it with some other form of electronic voting, and I'm afraid that our proceeds from our sale would be a mere pittance in the amount that we'd have to spend to replace that. So it will to be continued, I guess, is the best way to put it at this point.
Well, I think
now.
it's a good idea to have the staff explore this a little bit and find out what alternatives and, given our budgetary constraints, how we would work through this.
Okay, so we'll go ahead, Richard.
Could we put this on the agenda for 60 days from now? Lance, would that give you and the staff time to at least take a preliminary look at it?
Well, let's let staff get through the election, Richard. How about that? How about we look at a little bit longer time frame so we can at least get through March, and then we'll have maybe some time to study this?
Okay, 60 days would put us into April, but
okay.
Whatever is a reasonable time for staff.
Okay, we'll get this back on the agenda in April.
We're still going to keep looking at it. I did put an item in our books for upgrades, so something that we're looking at. I think I'm getting funding from other bodies, so I think we may be sooner than you think. So.
Okay.
Well, we have Judd Ryan and Howard Kramer here, and I'm sure they have a lot to say about this subject. I can see you both chomping at the bits, but we'll as well as Sharon Maroney.
Are they all leaping out of their seats?
Yeah, just
storming
about.
the front table?
Just about. So, but we'll save that for another meeting and a chance to really discuss it in a more robust manner. Okay. we'll move to item B, amendment, contract amendment to the ES&S agreement on the poll books.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we originally came, when we first entered into the agreement, we went with Dymo label writer, just the 450? The 400.
Yes, 450.
Right, and now we're going into the turbo label printer. It's an upgrade from the original one that we had in the contract. So Mr. Scanlon says to make everything right in case we purchase another equipment, we need to have an amendment to the contract.
So we're actually getting a more
Robust,
robust printer, and the amount of the contract is not increasing.
same price.
Okay,
Okay,
all right, so it's really a technical amendment to the contract, is that right, Ms. Agnew?
Yes.
Okay. All righty.
I'll move to approve the amendment.
Moved by Commissioner Cowan,
second,
seconded by Commissioner Hernandez. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
That'll
Aye.
be the order. All right, we'll move to the cartage contracts for the transportation of the election equipment to the polling places and the return of that equipment.
Yes,
Mr.
and Mr. Chairman, after reviewing the bids, staff's recommendation, and you know, we divide the city up into 4 quadrants, and it's worked out well. What we've, after reviewing the bids, we'd like to give Midway Movers Area A, Rio Movers Area B, Big O Movers Area C, and Hogan Movers Area D.
Okay.
And this was, oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, no, go ahead.
No, this was done after staff reviewed all the bids and looking at past performances. I had the warehouse people, along with the polling place department, who really work with the movers, and this is what they recommend.
and just for the record, why do we divided it into quadrants instead of doing the whole city or half of the city?
You know, considering how we move equipment out of the warehouse, I know that the county awards it to one company, but then they subcontract with other vendors. What we've done is we've just divided it up into 4 quadrants. It's made it easier for delivery. I'm sure a large company can do it, but they would have to, you know, get trucks and from other places. So staff feels that it's better to deal with 4 individuals. I know I have Mr. Siegel here from Midway who say he could do the whole city, and he probably could too. But you look at the prices that they have, and they're all over the place. So
And
that's
the-
why we did.
And these companies will not subcontract?
They do it themselves.
Exactly.
Mr. Siegel, I don't want to speak for your company, but you can handle that, right?
Oh, yeah, no
Yes.
question. And if any of the other contractors that you
I think, Lance, didn't many years ago, we gave a contract to one vendor and it didn't work out all that smoothly?
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. But what's good is about if we divide it up into 4, and Mr. Siegel's right. We had one mover that had problems with insurance, and we canceled that contract, and Mr. Siegel took over that section.
that.
So it's something that is manageable this way.
Well, I like the idea of, I know that's Mr. Siegel, but we like your company a lot. But I do like the idea of dividing the city into 4 parts. We can also enhance our MBE participation by dividing the procurement in such a fashion, which I think is commendable to the staff. So we have Rio Movers, which is a minority-owned company, and Big O.
Yes.
So essentially, 50% of this contract procurement is being performed by minority businesses, which is important to this board.
Exactly, I agree.
So, any other comments?
No, okay, so I would move to award Midway Moving the cartage work in geographical area A for the rates listed. And
Second. Or were you going to have one motion including all four?
I think I could
Yeah,
do that.
one motion, yeah.
And to award Rio Geographical Area B for the prices listed. Big O for Geographical Area C for the prices listed. And Hogan for Geographical Area D for the prices listed in our equipment pricing grid.
And it should be noted if, Commissioner, that the pricing are unit prices for moving various amount of equipment, being ESCs, workstations, ramps, the redelivery of ramps and ESCs in unit prices, and it'll depend upon, of course, the amount of equipment, as
Exactly.
opposed to a overall gross price. Is that
Right.
correct?
It is.
Okay.
Correct.
And I have two original contracts that I guess.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Hernandez,
Second.
second by Commissioner Cowan. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
That'll be the order. Mr. Siegel, congratulations.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to participate.
Do you want to speak or anything today, or just?
No, it's a pleasure to be here. We're grateful to have provided service in the past, and we're grateful to be part of the project. And anything you need, we're always here for you.
Great. You guys have been tremendous for us, and you're a very valued partner.
Thank you
Other
very
struggles
much.
in elections, so we're happy to award a portion of the work to you, and thank you for coming today.
Thank you, Chairman.
It says a lot about
Thank
how you
you.
feel about this work. So.
Thank you very much. It's
Duly
very
noted.
important.
We'll then move to legal status report. Ms. Agnew, anything for us today?
I have nothing new for you today.
Okay. No legal news is sometimes good. All right.
Real good.
Always.
Financial report, we have none today, Mr. Burrell, is that correct? Okay. All right, I'll move to the public comment section. Would anybody like to speak to us today? Ms. Maroney, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, how are you today?
Good morning.
I have a little story I wanted to bring to you, if I may.
Please.
Thank you. And I'll just quickly read it out loud, and it illustrates the point that I wanted to bring to the board today to discuss. And Commissioner Cowan, I know you'll have to hear me because you can't see it.
Right.
Thank you. You'll have to excuse my reading here, I got to put these glasses on. It's titled Responsibilities and Rights. It is Joshua's 30th birthday. He's planning to celebrate with his wife and new baby, but not until he goes out to vote for the first time in his life. He'd always said, why bother, when asked why he did not vote. This year was different. A young father, he was now taking the responsibility of citizenship more seriously. It is March 18th. Joshua stops in the neighborhood school to vote in precinct on Election Day. He's greeted by two election judges at a table. They ask him to identify himself. As they are processing his ballot application, he notices the two election judges wearing badges identifying them as being from the Republican and the Democratic parties. Noting that they were both checking his signature, Joshua comments, I see we have a Republican and a Democrat overseeing my vote. I always wondered about the security of the vote in Cook County. The Republican election judge smiles back in response and says, I am a Republican for the day only. Really, I'm a member of the Democrat Party, but I guess they needed a Republican judge of election. Joshua pauses thoughtfully, surveying the room where he is about to cast his first vote. His next thought is, will my vote count? Will it matter? And I give you this story today because as I work with different people and I ask them why they do and they do not vote, I think the most prominent reason that I hear is because they don't believe in the integrity of the vote. Their vote won't make a difference. It doesn't matter. And as we have been looking at the practices of how election judges are assigned in all of Cook County, both Chicago and suburban Cook, I've come to the realization that there is a practice of assigning one party to the other party's positions for election judges. And since recently I have been studying this legally, and I have come to understand that in fact you have to have in every precinct a resident from both the Republican and the Democratic Party actually sitting at that table. And our laws are kind of, interesting in that we want the parties to assign their election judges, and that is what they're supposed to be doing. But when they don't, the responsibility falls back to the election jurisdiction. Part of the problem that the parties have is data access, so that they can get into and work with their judges, communicate with them, and do the different things that are required to happen. But fundamentally, there has to be a change in staffing at the level of the board, because by waiting until the very last minute to quickly throw in over-the-counter applications, which is the current practice that you use to fill those spots that are not currently being filled, what you do is you limit your talent pool to people who have walked through that door and filled out an application. And you have not reached out directly to the precincts and the neighborhoods where these people should be being sourced from. A very simple solution, and one that I've already sent a letter with to the board in regards to, is all you have to do is post a notice on every polling place 2 months before the election that you're going to be hiring election judges from that precinct. And I virtually guarantee you, you will have all of those positions filled from people living in the precinct. And the reason why they need to be in the precinct is because voting is meant to be done at the grassroots level. In precincts, you recognize you're invested, you're involved with who is voting. And that's why it's not a good practice at the last minute to be slapping in a whole bunch of applicants from OTC that may or may not have any recognition for that precinct. So I would recommend, since we're moving into a new election cycle and a commissioning cycle, we have two things going on. For this election cycle, we're analyzing all of the placements to find out if we have self-declared Democrats or Republicans serving in the wrong positions. And if they do, then we would be looking to challenge that. And number two, for the next commissioning cycle, we would like to sit down with the board and have them consider new ways that you might reach out to staff your election judge positions so that the actual composition of the judges in every single precinct fit not only the letter of the law, but the spirit of the law. And that was my comments for today. And before I sit down, I can't help but remind you that the election equipment that you're thinking of putting up for sale is not currently HAVA compliant, and it is also not past the 2003 voting system standards. Error testing. So I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. I always, this is a public comment section, which I have to remind myself that it's a monologue and not a dialogue. But I think it's important for me to kind of address some of the things you said, because we do tape our meetings and they do go up on our website, and I wouldn't want the numerous misstatements that you made to go unanswered. And I guess I'm a little bit saddened, I guess would be the right word, that you spend so much time with us and really don't understand the process by which we get election judges. And I can tell you that the good news is we have the same goal. The ultimate goal that we're trying to achieve, which are quality. And I always, you and I have talked about this a lot and have a little disagreement on it. I'm more, if I had to write a fable such as the one that you gave me here and read, I would ask that Joshua would ask the election judges, have they been to training? Are they qualified? Are they competent? Are they there because they want to be there? And are they there for their commitment to democracy? And the last question I might ask him is, they're Democrat or Republican? Because I think, are they Q? Are they qualified? Are they competent C? And are they committed to the democratic process is really the important thing we need to think about. I agree, the law doesn't ask that question. And you know, we kind of talk about this all the time. But in terms of the recruitment of judges, I don't want to take the time now. I encourage you to really talk to, and I don't know who to give you to, Ms. Bateman or Mr. Allen or Mr. Goff, but sit down with them and understand what we do from A to Z to find qualified and competent election judges, both Democrat and Republican. And you're right, finding qualified and competent and committed Republican judges is a little bit of a challenge for us in Cook County, and we've tried to work with you to do that, and we'll continue to do that, and we want to do that. But I don't think putting a sign saying, you know, help wanted, election judges, 25 to 30 hours worth of service for $170 for the day is going to have people beating down our door here to sign up. I think that's really not a informed suggestion, and I think that, Sharon, that you spend so much time with us. I really want you to get up to speed on this in terms of finding out everything we do in terms of media outreach, working with all the hundreds of civic organizations, community organizations. I was on CAN TV last night with Augie Salas pleading to the Hispanic community for bilingual judges. This is a 24-hour-a-day commitment by this agency to find qualified, competent, and committed election judges. So join in with us and criticize us. I'm all for it. If you think we're doing something that we need to do more, give it to me. I'm all ears. A sign on the polling place, I'm sorry, I don't think that works. So I guess I just had to get that off my
Well, we'll
chest.
keep bringing 800 new judges.
Yes, thank you very much. That was
However,
extremely helpful.
I would tell you, I am a staffing expert with 30 years of experience in the field. And believe me, your techniques are wonderful, but they're not targeting the talent pool that you need, because you have to be down in the precinct, which is what the law requires.
Okay, I know. Okay.
If I may.
Go ahead.
I helped oversee a direct mailing to every registered Republican voter, every voter who had requested and cast a Republican ballot at the behest of Commissioner Cowan.
Yes.
To try to do a better job of recruiting more Republican judges. We extended information to every single person in the city of Chicago who had cast a Republican ballot in the prior 2 election cycles. I don't know a more comprehensive way of outreach rather than putting signs on polling places. I mean, we contacted, with a letter, 40,000 people. And I don't know.
And beg them to contact us.
Exactly. Some of them did contact us. Some of them did contact us and applied. And some of them, when they got to train, some of them did serve. But some of them got to training and looked at that $170, and they said, and they looked at the schedule, the long day.
Right.
And they said, this is not my thing. So I mean, it's a challenge that we have with the law, and it's a challenge we have with the pay. And you know, we'd enjoy your support in increasing the compensation at the state and local level when it comes to budget time for the judges of election, because they are the backbone of the election. They do a great job. In most cases, we get more than we pay for. But you know, $170 for 3 hours of training plus a day that can go 15 hours that's a lot to ask. And you know, you've been out recruiting on Craigslist and everywhere else, and but we did direct mail to every one of these voters.
And I want to thank you for that, by the way. I didn't mean to say that you're not making outreach.
Well, you did say it though.
Yes, I mean.
Didn't mean to say it. You said
Well, I
ready
think
to
your
last
outreach
minute
needs
and
to
you've
be-
not reached out to the precincts. I can't think of a more crystal clear way that you could say it. You said that we're waiting to the last minute and we've not reached out to the precincts. I don't know.
Yeah, and this story here The other issue I have with it, so Joshua looks at the judges, and one is a phony, let's just call it a phony Republican, and somehow that's going to influence the integrity of his vote. Would it count?
Yes, it does.
I mean, then when we're talking about, well, then that phony judge is going to commit fraud.
No, let
that's-
me explain to you why I say that, because
Yeah.
that's a very important point. Because first of all, it's not the judge's fault that they're in one party or the other.
Right,
I
exactly.
believe 99% of our election judges are heroes to me, honestly.
Right.
They're serving, they're working hard, and they don't get paid very much for it. But what it does is when the state legislature set up the security of the poll, they base that security on an oversight. And that oversight is done by a panel of 5 judges. And so when you don't have, and those judges are split between the 2 parties, Republican and Democrat. So when you have 5 judges and they're all from one party, and Chicago has a hard time getting Republicans, downstate they have a hard time getting Democrats. So I'm not saying this is strictly one party's problem. But when you staff judges, so that if I go into a polling place and that judge says I am a person for the day, I'm a Republican for the day or a Democrat for the day, what you have done is you've compromised the fundamental security structure of that poll, which is to have 5 people from 2 parties overseeing the vote and assuring that it's being administered honestly. I'm not saying that there's any
No,
fraud.
I know what you're
There's
saying.
a huge
and
difference.
I just think you're so misplaced in your effort. You can have 5 judges from downstate Illinois that are all Republicans, and if they're committed and competent and have been through our training program, bring them on. Have 5 Republicans.
But that's not what
We're going to have an honest
then
and
you
good
need to
election.
be- Then you need to have Mr. Scanlon go to the legislature and say, let's have all one party.
Well, I
in
can't do
places.
that. So, but what I can do is say to you, who you are a valuable resource to us. We need your help in a lot of areas doing things, such as getting these judges. I would just say that this is not something that I think is the primary focus, and that is let's get. I mean, we tried to get as many as we can Republican judges, but let's focus on getting just people that are committed and competent and smart and want to be there. I mean, that's really what it's all about, isn't it, Sharon?
Then I think you need to go to the legislature and ask
I
them to
don't
have
really-
an area for smart people that are not party-oriented.
I think that it is not the burden for this commission.
You have to identify yourself.
Jeanette Wilson,
Yeah.
Rainbow Push. I think that it is not this commission's burden to mobilize on behalf of the Republican Party. The Republican Party, they had a thing on Morning Joe this morning. It has to recruit its own members and move. We don't have a problem with Democrats in Chicago because apparently the Democratic Party is doing something right. I do believe that I've never walked into a polling place and had a judge tell me that they were with any party. That's not what they promote inside the polling places. What they did do was to check to see if I was a registered voter for that particular precinct and to make sure that I understood how to cast my ballot. Other than that, that's what the judges are there to monitor, to make sure that that ballot goes in the box. Now, all this Republican and Democrat, that is not a conversation that you have on election day in the polling place. I think Chicago, fortunately, has one of the best election procedures and process, and constantly upgrading it. I think that you, ma'am, need to invite more of your, quote, Republican members to participate in promoting elections and getting more involved. I think the board has reached out, bringing in these young people, which gives us a very nonpartisan approach to what happens in the polling place. But I think to spend a lot of time on kind of a mindless philosophical discussion is a waste of this board's time. What makes people vote is they have to see a connection between the office that they're voting for and themselves. What does it do for me personally? Why does voting for a judge impact my life? That's what most people are interested in, whether they're Republican, Democratic, or anyone else, or independent. And so I think that as a community of citizens who are concerned, we need to be worried about in this midterm election how we can get the 17 to and older out to these polls, voting in record numbers for people that will impact them far more than anyone will in a presidential election. And I think educating, and you need to spend your time figuring out how do we educate people better? Because you're smart and you're thinking every day. Well, think on those things and help the board push the message out of voter engagement and voter empowerment. And I think that's what our role is, in my judgment. Not to constantly come in here nitpicking about some stuff that requires legislative action that's not going to pass right now.
Well,
But
thank
for
you
March
those-
18th, and I thank you for.
Thank you for those
coming.
comments. I just wanted to
Let me
let you-
finish.
oh, sorry.
You had like a whole thing, soliloquy. I think that you have some ideas that go to this board, some are legislative actions, you need to meet with your legislators and move on that. But what we gotta do now, as I see it, March 18th, we gotta get people to the polls. And that is a struggle, whether you're Republican, Democratic, or
Yes,
Tea
it
Party.
is.
So let's all work on that. Then after March 18th, we can fight about how many judges we want in November. I think if we get people to the polls, it'll increase the enthusiasm for judges. That's what I believe.
Thank you. And just to let you know, the Democrat Party right now needs 900 election judges in Chicago, so you guys are fighting the same problem.
Wow. But we're not trying to.
So, Joshua.
We don't care who sits in there to be a judge, because it's not a party focus. When they're sitting behind that table, they're judging whether or not I meet the criteria necessary to vote, and that my vote is going to be counted. It goes in the machine. The judge is not inside the machine saying, "Oh, I'm Democrat, or I'm Republican." That,
All right, well,
the integrity of the vote is protected, I believe.
Thank you all for the lively discussion.
I just add a comment, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
We're starting a new election cycle of, I believe, May 1st for appointment of judges. And I think Sharon suggested she'd like an opportunity to come in with some suggestions as to how to do the process better. And I think that, she should have an opportunity to present those sometime after the March 18th election. And let's review it once again and see if there are suggestions that are workable. Going back to Helen's comment on this mailing to Republican primary voters, I think that produced somewheres around 800 to 1,000 judges who actually did serve, something in that range. So that effort to reach out was modestly successful in terms of recruiting judges. And we're always open to any other suggestions of new or better ways to do this. And the one comment, and Sharon and the board is certainly, and staff is certainly aware of this, we have to operate under certain statutory deadlines that are a little tight. And we've exercised some discretion over the years to, in practice, allow an extension of those deadlines for both parties. So we're interested in working with everybody to achieve the objectives that the chairman so well laid out.
Agree with those comments 100%, Commissioner. Okay, again, Sharon, I didn't mean to discourage any suggestions you may have. We're all ears and welcome to them.
Thank you.
And so we'll move on from there. Anyone else for any public discussion today or comments? Okay. I'll accept a motion. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I forgot. I apologize. I want to introduce our new purchasing agent, Laurel.
Hello.
Hi. Laurel, will you introduce yourself to my board members?
My name is Laurel Flamisher. New purchasing agent. My background is in procurement, both at the city and the state level.
Well, welcome to the Chicago Board. Thank you for coming today and introducing yourselves. Look forward to working with you.
Same time.
Okay. If there is nothing else to come before the board, I'll accept a motion to recess till our next regular scheduled meeting, which would be March 4th, or do we need one next week?
I'd like to have permission to call a meeting. I need to go over some items to see
Okay.
when we need to
So
have
we'll
our next
meet
meeting.
next week. We'll, at the call of the chair, and you'll get some dates.
I certainly will.
Tuesday the 25th does not work,
I
so,
hear you.
yeah, so
Not a problem.
we'll schedule something next week. Okay.
Thank you.
Moved by Commissioner Hernandez?
Yes, motion.
I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
That'll be the
Aye.
order. Thank you, Richard. We'll talk to you soon. Hope you feel better.
Very well, thanks a lot.
Okay.